Good morning and welcome to today's change of responsibility for the Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and retirement ceremony in honor of the 4th Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Ramon Colon-Lopez, United States Air Force. Prior to the start of the ceremony, the Chairman appointed Sergeant Major Troy Black to the rank of Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman. Please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices at this time. In just a few moments, the United States Air Force Band will conduct a pre-ceremonial concert featuring the following musical selections: Washington Post and Rivera.
The troops representing the armed forces of the United States and participating in today's review from left to right are the United States Air Force Band, led by Drum Major Daniel Valladay. Elements of the Armed Forces Honor Guard include the marching platoon from the Army's 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, led by Sergeant First Class Alfonso Roman. The platoon sergeant is Staff Sergeant Rashad Kelly. The next element online are Marines from Marine Barracks, Washington, 8th and I, led by Staff Sergeant Troy Rule. The platoon sergeant is Corporal Grant Duran. The next element online is the Navy Honor Guard, led by Senior Chief Petty Officer Eris Rayner. The platoon petty officer is AT2 Matthew Coriano. The next element online is the United States Air Force Honor Guard, led by Technical Sergeant Charles Schlitman. The platoon sergeant is Technical Sergeant Matthew Cox. Following is an element of the United States Coast Guard Sentinels, led by Petty Officer First Class Matt DeCriscio. The platoon petty officer is Chief Petty Officer Derek Haley. The element to the front left, dressed in the Continental Musician's uniform, is the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. During the American Revolution, musicians wore the reverse colors of their parent infantry unit. The men and women of the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps maintain this tradition by wearing red coats instead of the infantry blue. The Corps is led today by Drum Major John Parks. Ladies and gentlemen, moving into position is the commander of troops for today's ceremony, Command Sergeant Major Roberto Guadarrama, Command Sergeant Major, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. Since the days of the American Revolution, the colors have been one of the most important elements of a military unit. Therefore, taking the center of our formation in just a moment is an Armed Forces Color Guard, bearing the national color and the service flags of the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the advancing of the colors.
Advance the colors! Post the colors. Step right. Face. Count. Forward. Move.
Please be seated.
Ready? Front. Toe. Punch. Shoulder. Move. Cones ready, cut.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the invocation given by Chaplain Colonel David Kelly. Taking the reviewing stand is the reviewing official for today's ceremony, the 4th Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Ramon Colon-Lopez. The 5th Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Troy E. Black. And Lieutenant General James C. Slife, Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, Headquarters, United States Air Force, accompanied by the host, General Charles Q. Brown, Jr., 21st Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Present, who's set, order. Staff, present, order. Staff, order. Order. Right shoulder. Order. Color. Order. Order. Color. Ready. Cut. Pop. Ready. Ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chaplain Kelly.
Please join me in prayer. Almighty God, we ask for your presence in this honored ceremony today as our nation and military say thank you to a great airman and the Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, SEAC Number 4, Ramon Colon-Lopez. Although many factors contribute, the single factor that elevates the United States military above all adversaries is the strength, character, and integrity of our enlisted corps. SEAC Colon-Lopez has sat atop of that honored corps as its leader, mentor, and staunchest spokesman. He and spouse Janet have traveled far and wide over 3 decades, 15 assignments, countless TDYs and deployments to serve their country faithfully and without reservation. As they enter the next phase of life, may they know the thankfulness of a grateful nation and the honor bestowed by a military that does not say goodbye, but well done, you are always welcome within our ranks. Lord, as the men and women of our military continue the long march, another great American and superior senior non-commissioned officer answers the call and picks up the guidon, continuing the advancement of the mission. The consummate Marine, Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Troy Black, with spouse and retired Marine Stacy by his side, have also served our country with distinction for over 3 decades. Lord God, as he assumes this mantle of responsibility, I ask you to give them your stamina to endure the journey, your strength to overcome difficult times, your joy that surpasses circumstances, your love that would bind them together, and your wisdom to find the rare right amongst the sea of wrong. Lord, bless him this day as he assumes this position and rank of SEAC number 5. In your holy name I pray, amen.
Please be seated.
Honor guard, hold. Attention. Hold. Right shoulder. Hold. Colors ready, cut. Troop and review. Step, heart rate, wrist. Honor guard, color. Attention. Color, heart, shoulder, halt. Colors ready, cut. Step, right, face.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the advancing of the colors and remain standing for the playing of the United States National Anthem.
Color, forward, march. Sir, colors are present. Present the command. Raise it. On. Detachment. Present. On.
Please be seated.
Order! Order! Ceremonial at ease. Step. Ceremonial at ease.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, SEAC Black will be sworn in as the 5th Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Troy Edward Black,
Having been appointed as Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff,
having been appointed as a Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
to solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
to bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
I obey the orders of the President of the United States
that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States
and the orders of the officers appointed over me,
and the orders of the officers appointed over me,
according to regulation
according to regulations
and the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
and the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
General Brown will now present SEAC Black with the positional flag of the office of the Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. In lieu of a flower presentation, a donation will be made to the Semper Fi Fund. Semper Fi, in America's fund, cares for our nation's critically wounded, ill, and injured service members, veterans, and military families, supporting all branches of the United States Armed Forces. They provide one-on-one case management, connection, and lifetime support. Today, tomorrow, together. Prior to today's ceremony, SEAC Colon-Lopez was presented the Defense Distinguished Service Medal by General Brown. At this time, General Brown will now present SEAC Colon-Lopez with his certificate of retirement. To all who shall see these presents greeting, this is to certify that Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman, Ramon Colon-Lopez, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the 1st of January, 2024. Signed, General David W. Alvin, Chief of Staff of the Air Force. General Brown and Mrs. Brown will now present Mrs. Colon-Lopez with the Distinguished Public Service Medal. The Distinguished Public Service Medal is awarded to Janet K. Colon. Mrs. Janet K. Colon distinguished herself by exceptionally superior public service in support of the members of the United States Armed Forces from December 2019 to November 2023. Mrs. Colon's patriotism and sincere personal involvement in the welfare of the members of the military community earned her deep respect from our service members and their families. As a devoted ambassador of goodwill and a model example for the spouses of all soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen, she was an untiring advocate for improving the quality of life for our men and women in uniform. Mrs. Colon's presence on numerous trips to visit both stateside and overseas bases served as a constant reminder of her steadfast commitment to our military personnel and reflected a total devotion and unconditional commitment to the values cherished within the military community. The dedication was further displayed in her support to numerous military family readiness groups, military spouse engagements, Gold Star families, Wounded Warriors, and various spouses clubs. Mrs. Colon gave freely of her time to many other worthy community causes that significantly benefited military members and their families. The distinctive accomplishments of Mrs. Colon are in keeping with the finest traditions of public service and reflect great credit upon herself and the Department of Defense. General Brown and Mrs. Brown will now present Mrs. Colon with her Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Air Force. It reads, "For the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense, thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse. Given this first day of January 2024, signed General David W. Alvin, Chief of Staff of the Air Force." In lieu of a flower presentation, a donation will be made to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. The Special Operations Warrior Foundation is a top-rated charitable organization with an enduring promise to the children of fallen Special Operations personnel and the children of all service members awarded the Medal of Honor. We are proud to recognize SEAC Colon-Lopez's devotion to our country, and we wish him happiness and prosperity in his well-earned retirement.
Staff, attention. Honor guard. Attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the posting of the colors.
Post the colors. Staff, right face.
Please be seated.
Ceremonial at ease. Stand at ease. Stand. Ceremonial at ease.
Ladies and gentlemen, General Brown.
Well, good morning. During the height of the Cold War, President John F. Kennedy said, "But however close we sometimes seem to that dark final abyss, let no man of peace and freedom despair, for he does not stand alone." This is an idea that has been mastered by the United States military. Our military does not stand alone. We are organized, trained, and equipped to work as a joint team, and have done so for almost 250 years. We overcame the mightiest military in the 18th century. We liberated Europe. We defeated imperialism in the Pacific. We broke the sound barrier. Nuclear weapons. For 247 years, we've made sure that no one stands alone. As the most respected military in the world, we have advanced tactical vehicles, unmatched stealth aircraft, undetectable submarines, and have ventured into new domains. But our true advantage is our people. People, not technology, make the difference. And the linchpin of our successes has been our enlisted force and our non-commissioned officer corps. I'm thankful that no matter how tough it may get, we all serve alongside strong leaders like CZ Colon-Lopez and Troy Black, who time and time again rise to the challenge so no one stands alone. Before going any further, I'd like to thank everyone involved who made this extraordinary event possible. Outstanding work. Let's give them a round of applause. I would also like to thank the extensive list of distinguished visitors here today. To our Department of Defense leadership, general officers, flag officers, senior enlisted advisors, senior enlisted leaders, both currently serving and retired, thanks for your leadership. Thank you to our allies and partners represented here today. You're a key source of strength because there is almost no challenge we confront alone. A very special welcome to the Wounded Warriors and Gold Star families here today. You collectively represent the many thousands who've given so much for our nation. Our service members sacrifice a lot for our nation, and their families sacrifice right alongside them. I'd like to take a moment to recognize two outstanding families that are responsible for the success of the two honorees on the reviewing stand today. Sharon and I would like to welcome CZ's family and friends today, especially his wife of nearly 24 years, Janet, who served in the Air Force for 8 years and then continued to serve across our government. CZ, a seasoned special operator, would be the first to admit that he doesn't compare to Janet's strength of character and magnetic personality, and I would agree. She's been truly the pillar of strength in the family. Now, CZ has been very candid about how broken he can be sometimes based on his long career, but he's had personal challenges and mental health challenges. And Janet helped him step away from his ego to find humility and to navigate to recovery. We welcome his sisters Dee and Frances, who have been a source of support and inspiration in his life. And to CC's network of extended family, including his brother-in-law Harry and nephew David. And to his friends who become like family. From his PJ teammates to his SEAC operators, some of those I had a chance to meet last evening. Many of you have served with CZ around the world and probably have more stories than we can probably count. Your mentorship, guidance, and support helped forge CZ into a tremendous airman, into an outstanding leader, and an outstanding and tremendous SEAC. She and I would also like to welcome the family and friends of Troy Black. His wife of 21 years, Stacy, who herself served almost 21 years in the Marines. They were both drill instructors when they first met at Parris Island. And Troy, actually, we had dinner earlier this week with Troy and Stacy, and they shared the story of how they met. Troy was a road guard, and Stacy was driving and almost hit him. She did hit him. Well, she said she almost hit you. You said she hit you. I don't know what the true story is. But Sergeant Major was ready to go give the driver an earful. Stacy was at the wheel, and as she rolled down the window, as he was getting ready to chew her out, Troy was speechless. He was also a bit smitten. Troy, being the operator that he is, actually went on a recon mission and finally found Stacy's phone number through some probably covert means, and then that became a relationship. We also want to welcome their children, Arwen and Braden, Troy's mother, Kathy, sister, Nikki, and also wants to welcome Troy's extended family, his sister-in-law, Stephanie, nieces, Cindy, Sophia, and nephew, Carter. To both families, thank you for the support you've given these inspirational leaders over the years. Now, CZ, you've served with character and honor as a SEAC for the last 4 years during a challenging time in our nation's history. Our National Non-Commissioned Officer Corps is the very backbone of our joint force, and you have skillfully represented their concerns, needs, and issues at very highest echelons of our government. Your advice has been critical to our joint force readiness and has enabled military advice to the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. You built global partnerships and developed key relationships with our allies and partners. You advanced joint enlisted education initiatives, promoting NCO development with more than 65 countries, including Ukraine, across NATO, and around the world. You coordinated with congressional and civic leaders to help address issues from mental health concerns to spouse certification needs. You provided oversight on issues impacting readiness and quality of life for more than 13 million military personnel, families, and veterans. You routinely translate the issues and concerns of the total force to the Department of Defense leaders. All this work was grounded in your own personal military journey, marked by your commendable valor and instinctive leadership. CZ, you will forever be remembered as a quiet and professional warrior who set the standard for integrity, humility, and approachability. You understood the strength of our armed forces wasn't just in our weapons or our strategies, but in the bonds we build within our units, across our services, and with our international peers. I know you did this with the support of your team, your friends, and your family. Janet, you've been a tireless advocate for the joint force. Your compassion and unselfishness are an inspiration. To Janet and CZ, on behalf of the 2.1 million men and women in uniform and their families, Shereen and I thank you for your leadership and your 33 years of service. We wish you the very best in retirement. Congratulations. And today, just a few moments ago, we swore in Troy Black as the 5th SEAC. And he is well prepared to accept the roles and responsibilities of this new position. There's simply no one more qualified to lead our joint force and represent our enlisted force and NCO Corps at this consequential time. He has served in a variety of roles: machine gunner, drill sergeant, first sergeant, and sergeant major in the Marine Corps. But first and foremost, he's a Marine, every Marine and rifleman. He spent many years deployed overseas fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, earning multiple awards of valor. His awards citation noted his boldness under fire, continually endued his Marines with confidence and steady resolve. Every day, he instilled the values of honor, courage, and commitment to those fighting alongside him. Troy's relentless dedication to other Marines was evident from his earliest days as a young machine gun section leader. One of Troy's earliest supervisors noted on his first fit rep that he is highly motivated. His highly motivated attitude inspires others to follow. This attitude has not wavered for the past 35 years. Troy, you applied this attitude during your time as a Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps. You drove changes to the Marine Corps' recruiting, to fitness programs, and the personnel policy. You were a staunch advocate for protecting the finances of young Marines and their families through your interagency engagements. You advocated for high quality and continuous professional military education, improving courses and development of our senior enlisted leaders. Above all, you were a champion of military service members by sharing the challenges and experiences of today's warriors to all audiences, to Congress, to senior military and civilian leaders, and to the American public. When you first meet Troy Black, he comes across as a stoic, direct, and upfront. There are no fluff words when he speaks. But under that tough exterior is a man who cares deeply about the men, women, and families of the United States military. When others ask him what motivates him to still serve, he says, look to your left, look to your right. This is why I still serve. Above all, he is driven by deep compassion for those in our military, those who have risen their right hand to take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I'm very grateful to be able to count on Troy's compassion, his leadership, and his guidance in the years ahead. Now, there's no shortage of challenges we are facing as a military and as a nation. But I am confident we can tackle these challenges, because I know, as JFK said, we do not stand alone. Thank you to SEAC Colon-Lopez, thank you to SEAC Black for your service, your sacrifice, and your dedication to our military and to our nation. Our nation thanks you. God bless you and your families, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Honor, guard, attention. Ceremonial at ease. Stand at ease. Stand. Ceremonial at ease.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Slife.
Well, good morning. I had a mentor one time that told me, do you know how you know when you've lost situational awareness? I said, how? And he said, when you get it back. So I just had a moment of situational awareness where I'm sitting here wondering, what am I doing here? And then it occurred to me, I think I'm the comic relief. So Good morning to all our guests, distinguished visitors, friends, family, to our Gold Star families, to our wounded warriors. Thank you especially for being here. You honor us with your presence. I want to highlight one particular guest that means a great deal to both SEAC, Colon-Lopez, and myself. And it's a gentleman over here to my right, your left. He's in his early 70s. He can still kick all of our butts, and his name is Chief Master Sergeant Wayne Fisk. Chief Fisk is a legend in the Air Force pararescue community. He was the only service member on the ground during the Sante raid in 1970, and he was the last man off Koh Tang Island during the recovery of the USS Mayaguez crew in 1975. Chief Fisk, thanks for making it down here. SEAC Black, congratulations. The fact that a service SEL has been elevated to the position of the SEAC, I think puts a real exclamation point on how deeply the Secretary and the Chairman value the position. SEAC, thank you for agreeing to continue to serve during challenging times. We appreciate your leadership. I look forward to working with you. So, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles Q. Brown. Lieutenant General Jim Slife. What do these three officers have in common? Other than an affiliation with the initials JS, all three of us at some point or another hired SEAC Colon-Lopez to be our command senior enlisted leader at some point along the way. And what I'll tell you about hiring SEAC Colon-Lopez as your senior enlisted leader is you got to understand there's only one sun in the solar system. When you hire Ray Colon-Lopez as a senior enlisted leader, you better be ready to become the moon, because all you can do is reflect the brilliant light coming off of Ray Colon-Lopez. He's had a remarkable career. I won't go through it in great detail, but I do want to touch on just a few things. Born in Puerto Rico, raised on the mean streets of Bridgeport, Connecticut. When he got into his late teens, it was clear that he needed some purpose and direction in life. And so after being rejected by the Army, the Navy, and the Marine Corps, he was enlisted into the United States Air Force. And as a testament, folks, with God as my witness, as a testament to the Air Force's keen eye for matching airmen to the jobs that they're best suited for, he was assigned as a customer service specialist in a traffic management office. And so if you know anything about SEAC Colon-Lopez, you can imagine him behind a customer service counter when somebody who's trying to arrange a household goods movement comes up and is complaining about the late delivery or whatever. You can imagine the degree of empathy to which the SEAC approached his customer service role. I have this vision of him coming across the counter and choking out some young airman. This was not the greatest part of his career. Let's be honest here. He and I have joked over the years about when we get to the retirement ceremony, here's part of what needs to happen. I don't know why it didn't happen today, but I want to paint a picture for you. Sometimes at our senior NCO retirement ceremonies, you'll see this thing where we line up an E1 and an E2 and an E3 and an E4, and they're all kind of lined up, and the E1 has got a big pair of stripes that he's holding on to. And the narrator goes, when he was an airman basic, SEAC Colon-Lopez learned to follow orders. And then they hand the stripe to the next. When he was an airman first class, he became technically proficient in his skill. And then they hand the stripe, and they go all the way down the thing until they get to the end. And the thing that we've joked about is that if we ever did that at his retirement ceremony, that stripe would have to go back and forth between the staff sergeant and the senior airman about 3 different times. He's the only person I know that got promoted to staff sergeant, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in his career. So clearly, traffic management specialist is not the role for the SEAC. So he finds out about this career field called pararescue, where you get to jump and dive and climb mountains and shoot weapons and choke out other airmen without getting an Article 15. This seems like the life for him. And so he becomes a pararescueman. He's assigned to Holloman Air Force Base. While there, he is assessed and selected into the National Mission Force at Fort Liberty, North Carolina. He moves up to Fort Liberty and progresses through the ranks in the pararescue and Special Tactics Squadron there. This is where he really has the most formative experiences of his career. You know, if you look at his chest, you'll see a couple of things. You see a presidential unit citation with an oak leaf cluster. Not once, but twice, a presidential unit citation. Bronze Star with Valor. He's assigned as part of an advanced force operations team. This in the special operations community, widely regarded as one of the most dangerous roles that you can have. Small teams, very far forward, highly exposed, often operating clandestinely. He's an advanced force operator, which is really reserved for the very finest people. While he's there, he spends a lot of time attached to the Navy SEAL team that's part of the Special Mission Force. And I am convinced that it is here that he learned, literally, how to curse like a sailor. Now, I'll tell you, if you have ever gotten SEAC Colon-Lopez wound up, as I have once or twice, you will hear him string words together in an order that you had never heard before, used as parts of speech that haven't even been invented yet. Really remarkable. I heard him do that in front of a wing of about 6,000 airmen one day. That was absolutely magnificent. He is the recipient of the Air Force Combat Action Medal. This is the medal that is given to airmen that come under direct fire. He's one of the first recipients of the Air Force Combat Action Medal. And so as you travel around the Air Force, if you go to museums, the National Museum of the Air Force Museum at Gunter, as you travel around these museums, there is always a mannequin of SEAC Colon-Lopez and a display and a narrative about how heroic he is. And every time I go to one of these things, of course, I take a selfie and I send him the picture of me and the mannequin. But, I'll be honest, I've kind of asked myself from time to time, I get it, he's a big deal, but why is there a mannequin of this cat in every museum in the Air Force? And I came to appreciate it's a cost-saving measure. It doesn't take a whole lot of plastic to recreate somebody that's 5'2" and 123 pounds. So I think the Air Force Museum program probably could use a little additional funding. After several years as part of the National Mission Force, the SEAC goes out initially to teach and later become the commandant of the pararescue schoolhouse. So he is now in charge of the schoolhouse. From there, he goes back to Fort Liberty as a squadron and later group SEL, and then he and I came in contact. I saw him as a group SEL, and I said, that guy could be the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force one day. I didn't know there was a thing called a SEAC at the time, so I wasn't too far off, but his talent was evident a dozen or so years ago when I hired him. He came to work at the 4th largest operational wing in the Air Force. He left me, he went to Kadena, to the biggest operational wing in the Air Force, and then the chairman hired him as the Air Force Component Command at Central Command. He came to the Pentagon, then General Waldhauser hired him at AFRICOM before General Milley hired him as the 4th SEAC. And when you think about that remarkable stretch of 17 years of being part of a command or a leadership team, all the way from the squadron level straight on up to the very highest level with the Secretary of Defense and the chairman, it's always the same set of characteristics that the SEAC brought to the table. Unflagging optimism, no matter how difficult the circumstances. A magnificent sense of humor. A warrior ethos, unmatched in our military. High standards, a commitment to excellence, and above all, care and empathy for every one of his teammates. Ray, Janet, as you all step off into the next part of life, please know that Gwendolyn and I treasure our friendship, our relationship over the years. Please know that we were always on your wing, and we're proud to have the opportunity to serve with you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you today, SEAC. Thank you all very much.
Honor, guard. Attention. Ceremonial at ease. Stand at ease. Ceremonial at ease.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 5th Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman, Troy Black.
I am the comic relief, sir. So 2 things really quickly. As I had a chance to kind of listen to the chairman's comments and the general's comments, I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I'm not nearly as pretty a man as CZ, so if we could get that photo down, it'd be really, really nice. Everyone, both the chairman and the general, have done a lot of introductions. I'm going to point out a couple of individuals that are here that I think are important to note. First, Secretary of the Navy, sir, you and Miss Betty, thank you for being here. Specifically, as our chairman, General Brown, released his message to the force, he talked about accelerating change across the joint force. On behalf of myself, in my former role as a Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, and General Berger, who is here right now, our 38th Commandant of the Marine Corps, thank you for your support. And I would ask, sir, between you, your peers, the Secretary of Defense, we need to do that for the entire force. Thank you for supporting the Marine Corps and the Navy in their role in doing that. Honorable Vizirani, sir, unfortunately, you and I spent a lot of time together. I think one of the chief things we spent time solving in all that unfortunate time was how to fix PCS moves for our families. I think with our SEAC 4 retiring today, we have just solved the entire problem because I now know what the problem was. I did not know, of all the things I know about you, brother, I did not know you're the problem. So I look forward to our continued relationship, sir, and all the things we're going to do to take care of our service members. Thank you. I mean, we'll go without saying, with all the other distinguished guests that are here right now, and there's a slew of 4-star admirals, generals, and others, I want to directly focus my time on thanking the senior enlisted that are here right now that represent the entirety of our joint force, whether they're serving as a service senior enlisted role or as a combatant command, they're here. These are the senior NCOs that lead our nation. Please give them a round of applause. And so I did take a couple of notes. Carlos, I know you're here. Where you at, Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps? So about 3 months ago, Sergeant Major Ruiz and I did our turnover. The last act that I would execute as the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, I lied. I did come to your office and steal one last note card with the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps chevron on it, or be the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. So this is in honor of you. You're not going to get this back. It's the last relic that I have at this point. To all the folks that I can thank here today, I want to really focus on what we're here for. It's really to honor CZ and Janet. And why I say that is these ceremonies they go in any direction. And my job here is to say thank you, the courtesy of welcoming everyone to the ceremony today, but what we should focus on today is honoring an exceptional life and career that Janet and CZ have provided to our nation for the many, many years that they have served. And I want to make sure we don't lose focus of that being the number one priority. The number two priority is I get to talk less for the first time in a long time, so I'll make this fast. I was asked this morning, like you would imagine, hey, what do you think the significance of being the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman is? And I think it's pretty simple. It's because of all of us that are here right now. It's for my mom. It's for my sister, my wife, my kids, that represent every single one of us. It's for the people that we raise our right hand to protect and to defend. There is literally no other reason that any of us should ever wear this uniform except for them. We also have the honor to lead ladies and gentlemen that choose to also raise that right hand, the very finest America has, the very most qualified, the finest fighting force in the world is the United States military, and their success, our strategic advantage over every adversary is not technology, it's not a plane, it's not a system or a computer, it's not a screen, it is the very ladies and gentlemen that you see standing before us right now. And these men and women represent thousands, hundreds of thousands that are across the globe right now that allow us to be here right now in this place to celebrate CZ and Janet as they exit service. Most importantly, as we see forces moving around the globe right now to assist our partners and our allies and prevent a war, but always prepared to win right now. And ultimately, if I was to say what is the excitement of being able to come into this role, is being able to understand that if this is supposed to be a position of leadership and represent and inspire, I get the opportunity to be inspired by the world's finest warfighting force, the United States military. I get the opportunity to continue to raise my hand like all of us do to support and defend the Constitution, to promote the general welfare, but to provide the defense of our nation and those who wish to share in our freedoms, the most free nation on this planet. That's an opportunity. I get the opportunity to, like all of us in uniform, protect an obligation to provide for our posterity, our children, our future, who are the future of our nation. And lastly, I get to do this because Stacey said I could. Because ultimately, without the very families that support us, whether it's the mother that sent me off on an airplane a long time ago wondering what next, whether it's our friends that we went to high school with, like my friend Trey, who's still scratching his head on, what the hell am I doing here? Whether it's my sister that saw me go so many times and wrote a poem about it, my wife, my children, my friends, we're simple representations of all of us that wear these uniforms. And it's for them that we serve. Finally, it's for the men and women you see standing before you. This is not about SEAC 4, SEAC 5, any of us that get to sit here and watch them. It's actually for these men and women that we all serve. Because we have a solemn obligation to ensure that no matter what happens, our job is to teach, coach, and mentor them to ensure that one day they can all be sitting in these seats, standing in front of these podiums, and continuing to carry on the war fighting and war-winning legacy of our United States military. And for that, I am grateful. I thank God for this opportunity. The reason we're here is because the path He's laid out and the path we choose to follow. I thank General Berger and Miss Donna most of all, because without your mentorship, sir and ma'am, Stacey and I would not have the tools necessary to stand with our chairman and Miss Shireen and share in this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And lastly, because we're a joint force, I must introduce you all to the most important phrase in the world. Semper Fidelis, Ura.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 4th Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman, Ramon Colon-Lopez.
Wow. Yes, I did get demoted. It was only once. And for that reason, SEAC number 5, I don't think that I'm the guy that needs to fix the household good crisis. Keep me on the battlefield. I do much better there. Well, you know, today's it's a bittersweet moment because we depart the ranks after 33 years of service. And I say we, Janet and I, because she's been with me through this all. But it's also a great day because I know that the Department of Defense is going to be in great hands with the Vice Chairman, Admiral Grady, with the Chairman, General Brown, and with SEAC 5 Troy Black. So all of you can rest assured that you will get everything you need to go ahead and kick the enemy's ass. Chairman, Mrs. Brown, Vice Chairman, Mrs. Grady, General, Mrs. Life, SEAC Black and Stacy, distinguished guests, family and friends, I want to welcome each and every one of you to this great occasion. And even though Secretary and Mrs. Austin and Chairman and Mrs. Milley cannot be here today, I want to thank them for the honor and the opportunity to serve our great nation. I would like to especially thank our Service and National Guard Bureau Senior Enlisted Advisors, and the DSELC, the Defense Senior Enlisted Leader Council, represented here by the Combatant Command Senior Enlisted Leaders and the 4th Estate Senior Enlisted Leaders, all past and present, for their collaboration, support, and dedication to our service member, which is this fine formation to my left. You define teamwork, produce success, and epitomize servant leadership. I am proud and honored to have served with each and every one of you, and I'm looking forward to the difference that you will make in the future. I also want to thank our former SEACs in attendance today, and Brian Battaglia, who is not here with us but is watching remotely. Your legacy has laid the foundation for this position and has provided an opportunity for both Troy and I to serve in this capacity. And as I mentioned the former SEACs, I also want to mention the first ever honorary SEAC, who is Chef Robert Irvine, who got anointed last night as the first person to have the honor to serve in this capacity. Now, the criteria for that particular honor is very simple. You just have to do a lot to take care of them. And this man doesn't rest. I don't know how you do it, Chef, but thank you so much for everything that you do. Let's give him a round of applause, please. To all of my former Special Operations teammates here today from all services, thank you for having my 6 and for your valor on the battlefield. Really, you are the best of the best. A special thanks to the members of my PJ selection class present here today. If you feed them beer, please do not listen to what they have to say. They're all lies. And an extra special thanks to a gentleman that was already highlighted by General Slife, and that is my father figure, my mentor, Wayne Fisk. Chief, thank you so much for being here with us today. It is my honor to have you here. The one thing that Wayne helped me with is that he told me early on in my formative years that if you really want to make a difference as a pararescueman, you must first learn to be a gentleman. Everything else will follow suit on that. Your skills, your acumen, your credibility will be based on that. And he was simply talking about character. So that is the kind of people that mentor us and mold us into who we are today. Next, I want to thank our veterans and our families, best represented here by our combat wounded and our Gold Star families. Valor on the battlefield comes at a high price, a price that every single you have paid with sacrifice and loss. This nation will never forget your contributions, and we shall honor you via our eternal commitment to fearlessly face the enemy anytime, anywhere. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. Next, I want to thank my office of the SEAC, many who are represented here today, past and present, and also some of my former execs, because everyone in these positions know that they're the ones that really do all the work behind the scenes. So if you have worked for me in the past, stand up so that we can recognize you. You know, they're really the true gift of serving in these positions, because I can guarantee you that every single one of them has become a friend for life. So really appreciate everything that you have done for us, and Janet and I are in debt for your sacrifice to serve alongside. And also, Janet and I have friends present from across the USA and abroad, including our international partners, friends from high school, from those streets of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Also, many others from walks of life. We have chefs, we have rock stars, we have comedians, we have authors, we have entrepreneurs. But every single one of you is simply a decent person. And that's the reason that you're in our company. And Chef, again, thank you so much for everything that you do. And to all of our other friends that are here, we really appreciate your company. And again, Janet and I really appreciate you making the time to come over here. So, our friends did nothing more than exposing us to a life that opened our eyes to many different things that we were not aware of. And as we travel abroad, we learn culture. And we ended up figuring out that there's a lot more to learn every day that we take a breath. And it was that journey that helped Janet and I become better people. And talking about better people, that journey for me began in my humble beginnings in a small town called Guanica, Puerto Rico. And there's a few of them here. That is represented here today by both of my sisters, Dee and Frances, by my brother-in-law, Harry, and my nephew, David. You really have been a pillar of strength in times of loss and in times of joy. And I can guarantee you right now that Mom and Dad are looking upon us smiling brightly because of where we are today. So let's give a round of applause to my family, please. And also, not being able to be with us today is the other side of the family, and that is Janet's side. I know that Bill and Don couldn't make it here today, but I know that they're watching. So Bill and Don, we love you and thank you for everything that you have done for us. And just like my parents are, Sally's also looking down upon us with pride and joy for this time today. And then to the most special person here today, and that is Janet. And we have two little ones at the house, Mabel and Zephyr. Zephyr's a new addition, and they're two dogs. You know, when it comes to Janet, I don't think that there's enough gratitude in this world to repay the debt for your sacrifices for every single one of us. I don't think that there's anything in this universe that can compare to your love and kindness. And there are not enough words in any vocabulary to express how fortunate I am to have you in my life. You assure me that I will always be loved, cared for, but most importantly, amused. You are the definition of love, grit, and selflessness. In essence, you epitomize the military spouse. So thank you for your love and your support over the years. One of my favorite authors, Ernest Hemingway, once said, "The great thing is to last and get your work done, and see, and hear, and learn, and understand, and write when there is something that you know, and not before, and not too much them after." That critical variable in that statement is time and timeliness. And as I reflect on my time in service, I realize that there will never be another time like this. But there will be other greats in this life. But really, never a time like this. And I want each and every one of you to think about the time that you're in right now. What is the meaning of your existence? What is your purpose? What have you lost? What have you gained? What are you proud of? And what do you regret? The meaning of my existence has been to sacrifice, living by one motto, that others may live. My purpose in life was to fight our nation's wars. My losses include friends, family, sanity at times, health, and time. My gains, family, honor, opportunities, and a life worth dying for. I am proud to have represented this great country with honor, and my regret is to have had only a limited time to do so. But even with limited time, I got my work done. I saw many things and many places. I heard great words and some not so great. I gained a better understanding of life by traveling. And I wrote when there was something to write about. And I seized that moment to convey those messages, not before or too late, to deliver the facts to our troops and our families. My life will now shift to make up time lost with my loved ones, to see, to hear, to learn, and to understand life as a family man, to attempt to make up for every important milestone missed, and to make my deposit into the memories of my loved ones using my presence as currency. While I realize that my life of service is far from done, I promise they will now be my priority, and that is my promise to you, Janet. But there's only one way that I can attempt to detach myself from the way of the warrior, and that is by having confidence that our Department of War will continue to be the most trusted, most lethal, most revered organization in the entire world. And we can only do that by adhering to the principles of sacrifice, duty, honor, and commitment. For a young man or woman to enter a life of military service, a sacred oath must be taken, much like my replacement, SEAC number 5, just did. That oath will become the most important promise that you will make in your lives. The price of acceptance into America's warrior class is payable on sacrifice. Our nation must understand that once they volunteer, they must conform to the military way of life and not the other way around. Service is about conformity, unity, and discipline, and we must not mistake the warrior few from the society they serve. The values that are acceptable in society, such as individualism, sensitivity, and compromise, are often antithetical to the traits that eliminate or deter our enemies on the battlefield. Our troops come from a free society, but they must not mirror that society. Our troops are a different kind of American, a subset of that society, one that is defined by that oath, by different laws, and by their battlefield purpose. They are broken of the human habits of comfort, taught to embrace unity and cohesion, and conditioned to fight the enemy. They embrace and respect each other, knowing that preferential treatment make equal treatment seem like discrimination. They know that orders are not suggestions. They know that combat has no room for debate. They know that in the execution of their duties, they may pay the ultimate price. They know that service is not about self, it is always about the team. And they know that in this volatile and unpredictable world, they are one poor decision away from engaging in combat. We must ensure that they do not lose that combat fighting edge. That fighting edge always requires national support. They deserve the best, most realistic training to harden them for the hardship and horrors of combat. They deserve predictable funding to evolve, modernize, and validate their combat capabilities. They deserve the best leaders to ensure their success. What they do not deserve is to be used as bargaining chips for localized political agendas. They do not deserve to be financially hindered by continuing resolutions. And they do not deserve to be slandered as an institution for the actions of a few. They have always risen to the task when tragedy strikes, and will do it again every time. Just take another look at this formation. They are the best that America has to offer, and they certainly look ready to kick the enemy's ass. This is them right here. And the reason they're the best is because the history of the world is not one of peace. It is one of warfare. And out of close to 353 million Americans, they are the less than 1% that are willing to do the fighting. To everyone here and to those listening in, support them at home with the same loyalty, patriotism, and honor they give when they fight for you in foreign lands. Since Joe gained his selection in 2005 as a SEAC, it has always been filled by a war-fighting person. Fighting is in our DNA, and as SEACs, we fight daily to maintain the competitive edge over our enemies. And Troy Black will continue that trend. That Marine is battle-tested, knows what is required on the battlefield, and knows what it takes to defeat the enemy. He knows the importance of culture. He knows the value of teamwork. He exudes confidence and professionalism. Discipline and loyalty are built into that man's character. But most importantly, he is well-versed in the act and art of advocacy. I am confident that Troy will successfully lead this formation into the next battlefield, and he will ensure that the Department of Defense will continue to be the most trusted, most lethal, and most revered organization in the world. SEAC number 5, Marine, you have the watch. Following Hemingway's advice, I lasted to finish my work, but my time has come to an end. As we move forward into the next chapter of the Office of the SEAC, know that it has been my honor to represent every single one of you. As I reflect on my life as a warrior, I am grateful for the opportunity to live it all on the battlefield to protect our way of life. But as I reflect on my life as a husband, I realize I got a lot of catching up to do. We'll go ahead and take care of that now, babe. I leave you today with the best advice that I can give, and that is that life is short, so don't waste it sitting around. Live intensely. Before you speak, listen. Before you write, think. Before you hurt, feel. Before you surrender, fight. But most importantly, before you die, live. Thank you for the honor of a lifetime. First there, that others may live. Hoo-yah.
Honor, guard. Attention. Top, right, shoulder, pull. Colors ready, cut.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in place for the Armed Forces Medley. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please remain in place for the departure of the official party. You are invited to congratulate SEAC Black and his family and bid farewell to SEAC Colon-Lopez and his family in the receiving line on the main floor. Ushers will assist once the receiving line area is ready for guests. Thank you for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.